And I have a question too for Mary Jane, Matt. And
Yes, go ahead.
Mary Jane, so is it fair to say that once the trust itself is actually created, right now we just sort of have a dedicated account that we've stored excess health benefit funds from, right? But once the actual trust is created, then funding to that trust will become a budgeted line item?
Correct. We will be using the 1.2 as the initial contribution for 21-22. Like I said, we do not have anything additional budgeted in the town's budget for that fiscal year. But moving forward, yes, we would be looking to have a tiered contribution from the town and the Board of Ed moving forward.
Once you, are you done, Lou? I had another question.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Mary Jane, once the trust is established, any income from that money remains in the trust, right?
Correct. That's the whole idea, to make money on our money to support future OPEB benefits. That's the whole idea.
That's it, to trust. The income is dedicated also at this point, or will be.
Correct.
Okay, good. All right.
Absolutely. It's going to be managed by the pension committee in the same way the pension trust is managed, but the funds will be totally separate.
Okay.
And Mitch, would you talk to, Charlie may not have asked this question directly, but he talked about the fund being capped or being finite. That is not necessarily the case, because we have folks who still receive or still entitled to receive OPEB benefits. Would you mind telling which of our bargaining units currently have that?
Thanks, Matt. Unlike the pension, trust, which has been, which has a cap because, well, has a cap, but has an end date because of people being phased out of the pension. The OPEB costs do continue. We've got significant cost in OPEB, certainly with the police department. There is some with the fire department. There are also some employees who had contracts that allowed them, and certain employees that still have contracts that allow them to continue medical after retirement. And that's mostly what the OPEB is. The other post-employment benefits, this is other than pension, and it pretty much is exclusively, for our case, is medical insurance. In some cases, there's a little bit of life insurance, but that's a low number compared to medical insurance. So it's still, so I don't see a finite number, but I think, as Mary Jane had indicated, once we have the trust established, we will get, just like we do with pension every year, an actuarially determined recommended amount that we should be putting in to start building that up, so we can make sure it's healthy, so that when we have to pay those costs, we're not paying them as we go, but actually have a pocket to pull from where the money is available, and will stabilize our budgets going forward.
Thank you, Mitch. Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing portion and move on to item 3 on our
Matt,
agenda.
someone raised their hand.
Oh, okay.
Hang on.
Matt, I would just like to respectfully request that we might move to item 8 so that Mr. Cohen does not have to sit through the entire agenda.
We'll do that. We'll do that immediately after public forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Trey, was there anybody else that had?
I have a question.
Certainly. State your name, please.
David Lindgren, 3140 Durham Road, Guilford, Connecticut.
Hi, David. Good
Hi.
morning.
Morning. So the question is where's this money, the surplus money coming from exactly?
The surplus money that has been earmarked to date came from our health benefits account, the surplus that we've been running in that health benefit account for the last few years.
Okay,
that was the initial funding.
So that's savings on the health account that is for the collective bargaining units?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll just add that health account is exactly where the OPEB benefits are currently being paid from.
Okay, I guess my question is that if the bargaining units are paying for the insurance and then there's a savings at the end, shouldn't that money be going back to the bargaining units?
it is in effect going back to some members of the bargaining unit. And remember that the town contributes the lion's share for the health benefits. And it was, I believe, 7 years ago, that fund was upside down. We're in a deficit position of over $500,000, which the town funded, and there were no additional contributions required from the bargaining unit.
Okay,
All right?
yep, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you for the questions, David.
Matt-
Anyone else?
Matt, it's Richard speaking. Good. Yeah,
Okay, Richard, yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to maybe add just maybe a short little embellishment. So just so everyone is clear, the OPEB is not creating any new liability. These are existing obligations of the town of Guilford and the Board of Ed. The creation of the trust enables the town, when the town's credit agencies evaluate the town's health, the credit agencies are able to see that the town of Guilford has irrevocably set aside funds to cover this future ongoing liability. So the purpose of the OPEB trust is to hold this money. Currently, the town holds it in its existing reserve account. But once the OPEB is adopted, these funds will be funded over time in addition to that initial seed money. And that enables the town, as Mary Jane said earlier, when the accountants value the present value of the liability, they are able to take into account that the investment advisors will be able to invest these funds similar to the way the pension fund is invested. And the actuaries and the accountants are able to assume a higher rate of return than if it were just simply held in the town's reserve account. Because under the state of Connecticut statutes, I believe funds held in the town's general accounts have to be invested in things like certificates of deposit and savings accounts. So because those types of investments are basically not earning any income with interest rates so low, the OPEB trust is a way, and it's quite common. In fact, we have several towns in the state of Connecticut that have adopted their OPEB earlier than Guilford's. And so the accountants and the General Accounting Standards Board has issued guidelines on how the accounting treatment is implemented. So I just wanted to reassure the folks at the public hearing that this is not creating anything additional in terms of a liability for Guilford.
Thank you, Richard, for that clarification. Well said. Anyone else on the OPEB? Okay, now I'm closing the public hearing, and we will move on to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to address the board in public forum on anything on the agenda? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to move the agenda so that item 4 becomes Finance Director Mary Jane Malavasi discussing and taking possible action on resolutions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Let me
Second.
try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Mary Jane.
Okay, thank you. So I'll let Rich and Pete jump in anytime as well. If you look at the resolution, the first item that we have for you, in a nutshell, it adopts the ordinances that we've discussed at the public hearing. And it establishes the OPEB trust, and it gives the first selectman, the finance director, the chair of the pension committee, and the designated board members the right to execute the trust agreement.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Pete or Richard, anything further?
Yeah, I'll I'll defer to Richard in a moment. I'll make one other comment on the ordinances. We've also clarified the role of the pension committee. And we updated that as well because they've been the pension committee for all of our pension contracts. But the original definition of them had only related to the town employees. So we're updating that as well as stating their new role as the OPEB board. But with that, I'll defer to Richard. We have a specialist here who did a lot of work on it, an excellent job, I think, and I actually learned quite a bit. So I'll defer to Richard.
Thank you, Peter. Just a couple quick comments just to sort of focus everyone on the hats that the different entities are wearing here, and why the ordinance makes certain, contains certain provisions. So as Peter had just mentioned, and this is pursuant to Connecticut statute 7-450, I think little b, 7-450 little b, I think is the enabling statute. It might be 7-450 little a, but that's the Connecticut general statute that authorizes or permits towns to create OPEB trusts. And pursuant to the statute, it's required that there be an OPEB board. So this is one of the new hats. We're going to have the OPEB trust, but there's an OPEB board that manages the investments in connection with the OPEB trust. So the ordinance provides that the pension committee, which is already in existence, will now be wearing this additional hat as the OPEB board. And it will essentially provide the exact same services. And that made a lot of sense because the pension committee is already involved with the investment manager that the town has engaged. So the pension committee will be now also wearing this OPEB board hat. That's provided in the ordinance. The other entity that's now being established is the OPEB trustees. Just like with a pension plan, the OPEB will now have trustee members. The ordinance provides for 5 trustee members of the OPEB. And Peter alluded to this a moment ago. The ordinance provides that one of the 5 is the finance director for the town. The second of the 5 is the chair of the pension committee. There are 3 other members who will be appointed to serve as OPEB trustees. And those 3 people are to be designated by the following boards. One will be designated by the Board of Selectmen. One will be designated by the Board of Education. And the third will be designated by the Board of Finance. So those, I believe on today's agenda for the Board of Selectmen's meeting that's now underway here, the Board of Selectmen may be making its designation to which selectman will serve as the designated member on the OPEB trustees. So I believe that's an item that's actually on today's agenda. So you'll have the OPEB board, which is the pension committee. You'll have the 5 persons serving as OPEB trustees, the 5 persons I mentioned, 3 to be designated. The other resolution that was mentioned is to authorize whoever will be signing the OPEB trust agreement. They'll be authorized by the Board of Selectmen to sign the agreements. And I think that's it, Peter.
All said, Richard. Thank you. Any questions or comments? One comment, as we'll get to, as Richard said, item D under this section is designate Board of Selectmen member to serve as OPEB trustee member. By statutory requirement, that has to be a member of the political party other than the first selectman. So in this case, it would have to be either Charlie or Sue to act as a trustee. And we can either do that today or take it offline and have a discussion. My apologies for not reaching out to both of you earlier to determine your interest, but you probably have about 5 minutes while we continue with going through the resolutions. So, go ahead, Sue.
Excuse me, Matt, I believe that I am the designated selectman on the, already on the pension committee. Is that not?
That is correct, but this is a separate designation for the OPEB. So
Is
by
there
virtue of,
Oh,
any reason why Susan couldn't serve as both?
No.
no, as long as you designate her at today's meeting or
Sure.
next meeting, at some meeting.
You want me to make that motion now?
You're in a big rush.
Let's wait till we get to D.
Susan, you didn't step back quickly enough there.
She's
Fine.
doing such a great job. There's no reason not to.
Oh, my word.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Okay. So,
Susan,
go ahead.
Susan, I think you would be an excellent person. not to twist your arm, but
Oh,
if
thank
you
you.
were willing, not that you wouldn't be an excellent person, Charles, but I think Susan should do it.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
Lou, where do you stand?
I mean, listen, in that case, I just make the motion. It seems like that's, stars have lined up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta give Susan a chance to respond, so.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do it, and thank you.
Right, we gotta go one item at a time.
Okay.
We have to pass the resolutions first, and then we can designate.
That's right.
Didn't want to waste
All
it.
right. We have 4 resolutions, and if the board would oblige in the waiving of the full reading, or do you think it's necessary to read the full ordinance?
I'm
Peter.
comfortable with
Not
that.
necessary.
Good. All right. We have the 4 ordinances in front of us, and we take item 1. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Second,
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner, rather.
Aye.
sorry,
Selectwoman Ruoff.
aye,
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. The second resolution, is there a motion?
Make the motion.
A
A
second.
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 Try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
aye,
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Resolution number 3.
This is where you're gonna put Susan's name in.
This is where we're going to put Susan in. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there a motion to move this resolution with Susan as our appointee?
I make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Good. Any further questions? Thank you, Susan. Let me
Certainly.
try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner.
You
You can vote for yourself.
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff.
aye,
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. And the 4th resolution, which allows us to execute the agreement. Is there a motion?
So
so
moved.
moved,
Thank you.
Second.
And a second. Any further questions or comments? Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
aye,
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. All right, does that cover it? Mary Jane, Peter, Richard?
Believe it does.
I think so.
Wonderful.
I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for everyone who supported this project that I've been working on for a couple of years. I think it is a tremendous step forward for the town of Guilford. And I don't know what else to say other than you won't have to hear me talk about this at every meeting anymore, but I can, as you all know, I can. But just thank you for your support and moving this forward today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Jane, for your diligence in getting us to this point. It's good public policy, and it's the right thing to do. So thank you.
And First Selectman, just
Yes,
if-
Richard.
just in terms of next steps, so we keep the ball rolling. Probably Mary Jane, you'll want to contact the FIA advisor, fiduciant, and to alert them to this may be another pot of money that they'll be managing. I think FIA is the advisor.
Yes.
Yeah, they've changed it. Trust me, everyone involved with this is more than aware that this is happening.
Very good. Yeah.
Met with all of them on many occasions, and we already have the policy ready to go for the pension committee when they become, now that they're the OPEB board. So we are ready to go.
Perfect. And then that's great. And of course, the Board of Ed will make its designation. And
On the
Board of,
17th. Mhm.
okay, just to let everyone know the timeline. And then the Board of Finance will have that other designation to make. And then you'll have,
Sorry,
sorry?
I'm sorry, the Board of Finance is the 17th, not the Board of Education.
Okay, but in the next, week or 2 weeks, those 4 number 5 people will be officially approved, and then everything would be signed, and I think you're off and running. So thank you very much.
Richard, thank you for your work and guiding us through this process. It's been invaluable, and we certainly appreciate the attention you've paid to it. And Pete as well. Pete kept us. Katie, I see you have your hand up. Kate.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to
No problem.
confirm that the Board of Education will take this up at their meeting on May 10th.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you. Anything further from the board or comments? No? Thank you very much all for getting that done. We're now on a modified agenda item number 5, and that's approval of minutes from the April 19th, 2021 regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions, changes, etc.?
I will drop off now, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You too, Richard. Thank you. If there are no comments or questions or changes, let me try your minds on the minutes. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Modified agenda number 6, Board of Ed Director of Operations and Facilities, Cliff Gurnham. 6.1 is to consider and take possible action on the award of bid number 10-2021 synthetic turf field and track replacement at Guilford High School. Cliff, good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having us. This morning, we have Luke McCoy from KBA, who's also joining us. So yes, this morning, we're coming forward to have you guys approve a bid for the track field and the associated areas around the stadium. We've been working on this project for probably well over a year. Been working carefully with the Standing Fields Committee, Park and Rec, the athletic director, and the Board of Ed to look at different type of infills. And after recommendations from all those boards and committees, they had recommended going with the coated SBR sand infill. So Luke is going to take you through the bids. We had 3 bids, and he'll take you through those, and then we'll go from there. Luke.
Thank you, Cliff. As Cliff mentioned, yes, we had 3 bids come in from local and qualified contractors. H.I. Stone out of Southbury, Mountain View Landscape and Lawn Care out of Chicopee, Mass. They were in fact the original contractor on the track and field project when it was built, and Giordano Construction out of Brantford. Based on the bids received, no matter how you looked at the alternates and selections, HI Stone was the low, no matter how you added it up. So we then did what we call a scope review with HI Stone to make sure that they incorporated all of the scope of the project into their bid, that they understood the drawings and the intent, and that we felt comfortable that they met the requirements within it. HI Stone, for those that are not familiar with them, their experience ranges from fields, tracks, to also school construction projects all over Connecticut. In fact, Eric and I from my office have worked with them on field projects very similar to this, most recently in Ledyard High School and the Waterford Kennedy High School synthetic turf field. So we felt confident with their qualifications as well as a review of their scope. Based on going through all of the commissions and boards that Cliff mentioned. So again, starting with the athletic director reviewed and made a recommendation, then the standing field committee, Board of Education, and the school building committee. The recommendation was, as Cliff mentioned, for a coated SBR and sand infill system. The turf system with the pad will be very similar to the upper field, just with a different infill. They also recommended the alternate of the replacing the 6-foot perimeter fence that surrounds the track and field, adding the additional walkways for handicap accessibility to the press box structure. The ad for a slightly upgrade in the track coating system. What this will do is reduce the maintenance requirements for the district over the 20-year lifespan. So instead of recoating your track 2 to 3 times, you'll be recoating it only twice in that time. It also includes press box equipment, replacing the outdated sound system within the press box, as well as adding what is called a Pixelot camera system. This will allow for live video feeding and the ability to watch from home all of the sporting events that happen at the school on the field and the track now. And then lastly is adding in additional communication boxes and power for the track program so that they have the ability to properly access power for their timer systems during events and meets there. The total for the construction cost was $1,826,500. We then add in the contingencies. There are 3 that we're holding. One is for the drainage stone within the field. The second is replacement of the collector drain within the field. Both of those are numbers that we received in case worst case scenario, once the turf is up, we find a issue with what you have installed there and we need to do work there. That's why we ask for those. We don't anticipate having to spend the money for those, but we do like to get the pricing on it in case it does have to happen. And then finally, a 3% contingency for a total request for the project of $1,983,663 to move forward. If approved, the town will enter into a contract with HI Stone. They will begin their mobilization and submittals between now and June 16th. On the 17th, construction will begin and the project will be substantially complete, meaning it's turned over for use prior to the end of September. And then the entire project with warranties and all of that will be closed out by the end of October. I welcome any questions if anyone has them, but that's a summary on where we've been and the request that's been made for the project.
Luke, thank you for that summary and well done. It's good to see you again. For those
Yes, you too.
Those who may recall, Luke was our representative in negotiating the repair of the upper field that had fallen into disrepair. So it's good to see you again, Luke.
You too. And I apologize, I'm in the car. I have another field that has a pre-construction meeting right after this. In the parking lot to get ready for that one as well. So
I love
it's
it.
that time
I
of
love
year.
it.
Zoom efficiency.
Yes.
Yep.
That's right.
I actually have a question, Matt.
Yes, Lou.
Luke, you can't open a newspaper without seeing some crisis in some building material or raw material. Is there anything in this project that's likely to be challenged by any kind of bottlenecks like that?
Right now, the only thing we've seen early on is the urethane coating that goes on turf, but that was because of that storm in Texas that shut everything down. But those plants are now operational and up and running. So based on your timeline and plenty of lead time, I don't see an issue for the field and the track stuff.
Okay, so the corollary to that question is the prices, well, obviously, once they sign, they're signed, but we're not likely to have any serious problem chewing significantly into the contingency. Did we lose Luke?
I think we lost Luke. We're not expecting any, Lou, that we're aware of at this point.
All right, fair enough. Thanks.
Any other questions? Pete, you and I can have a conversation on the point you had brought up around the agreement that the town signed related to the mediation on the upper field. And if there are any further concerns related to that. But I don't think that would preclude us from moving forward with this today.
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, is there a motion to approve the awarding of the contract to H.I. Stone and Son for the total amount of, to include in contingencies, $1,983,663. Is there a motion?
Well,
I'll second it then.
Wonderful. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
aye.
Selectman Haverda,
All right.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you very much, Cliff and Luke. I appreciate your work on this, and we look forward to seeing activities start relatively soon, I suspect, right?
Yes, right after the end of all the school functions. So June 17th, you should see the equipment start and the field disappearing.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Modified agenda item 8, Director of Human Resources, Mitch Goldblatt. 8.1 is to discuss and take possible action on Total Care Employee Assistance Program proposal for July 20th, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. Mitch?
Did you skip Rick? I'm ready to go, but I don't know if you skipped Rick or not.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot.
So modified agenda number 7, I'm sorry. Discuss and take possible action on purchase of fertilizer and herbicide off the CROG bid from Tom Irwin Inc. Rick?
Hey, I'm okay. I know that Mitch is more significant, so that's okay.
Oh, no.
Well, thank you. I know we've talked about this before. I think we've seen the great improvement in our fields. A lot of it has to do with the work that Tony, our park foreman, has been doing to improve the quality. And part of it has to do with the different types of fertilizer and some organics that we've been putting into the soils there. And so Tony got a quote from Tom Irwin. It's a company that sells a lot of organics and higher quality fertilizers. And so there's 4 different types of fertilizer. And one of them actually has some crabgrass control in it that we mix together with the fertile. It's all mixed together already. So there are 4 different types that Tony wanted to get. And again, one of those is organic. I think maybe 2, one for sure is. It's under the CROG bid number 714. The total cost is $9,271.60. And we just request the Board of Selectmen to allow us to purchase from that supplier.
Great. Any questions?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haberda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Now we're on to modified agenda item 8, Mitch Goldblatt and Total Care Employee Assistance Program. Mitch?
Thank you, Matt. In your package, you should have the Total Care EAP proposal for Employee Assistance Program. The reason this is coming to your attention today, and oh, by the way, Annie Linden, who's Vice President of Client Services, is on the call as well to answer any questions from EAP. The reason this is on the agenda this morning is that over the last several years, and I say several, we have just continued our relationship with ESI EAP through the state bidding process. For some inexplicable reason, the state DAS decided to drop the number of EAP, employee assistance programs, on the state bid list from, Annie can correct me, I think from 21 to 4, something like that. And ESI EAP had been dropped off their list. Annie and I have had quite a discussion about this because the town, specifically, not just myself, but people that have dealt with EAP, have been very satisfied with their services. It's a confidential service for employee assistance that I most of the time will never hear anything about, but there have been several individuals that have told me they have contacted ESI EAP with very successful results. In addition, the EAP puts out a newsletter for our employees, which we find very helpful. It goes out every beginning of the month. In fact, the May newsletter, by coincidence, will probably go out today from me to all employees. By the way, this includes all employees except our public safety. Fire and police personnel have a separate EAP that specializes more so for their purposes, but all other employees are covered under this agreement. So the reason for them coming today then is because they're no longer on the state bid list where we just waive things. I'm asking you, per my discussions with Attorney Barrett, to do 2 things today, which would be to, first of all, waive the requirements to go out for quotes, and the second thing is to place a 3-year agreement with ESI EAP, who, by the way, if you look at the agreement you have in your packets, has held the price per employee once again at $21.95 per employee for the entire year. It's already in our budget at that amount. And this has probably been holding, I would go on probably about 6 to 8 years now if we go for a 3-year agreement without them raising the price for us and providing all the services they do, which, by the way, is now including training that we've had a long discussion. Both Jessica and I have had a long discussion with Annie about that, and we've picked up the bloodborne pathogen training, and we're going to pick up some supervisory skills training for our employees as well through them as well going forward. So that's my request for this morning. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And like I say, Annie Linden is here to answer any questions as well. Some of you may recognize her because she is a frequent visitor at our fairs that we have not held for over a year, but when we did, both our benefit fair and our health fair, ESI EAP has been participating in. Annie's been a regular there as well.
Mitch, thank you for highlighting this very important program for our employees. I do have a question, Annie, without giving away any confidential information. Have you seen an uptick in casework as related to COVID and the coronavirus?
Absolutely. Yes, Matt, absolutely. It's interesting. Initially in the pandemic, we expected to see more in those first few months, and it was a little more quiet. And then it sort of has just really opened up. I think it's impacted people's lives in so many different ways, from the mental health to just financial and, work-life balance and remote work, in so many ways that people have reached out for supportive resources, a high increase, certainly even in the last 6 months, interestingly.
Great.
So absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Annie. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
You touched on my question, Matt, which is, Mitch is very good about advertising this. Emails come out periodically, and it sounds as if people are certainly aware of this and are comfortable taking advantage of the program. So it's a useful thing we're providing, and people are in fact using it.
Yeah, like I
Excellent.
say, I only hear anecdotally from people that come to me and say they have called. Obviously, we do get reports. I don't have them available right now. You know, the numbers of people, of course, we'll see. They come pretty much, we look at them yearly, but you know, as Annie indicated, I'm sure we'll see an uptick this year. But once again, people have been taking advantage of different aspects. It's not just the quote unquote emergency call, you know, to an employee assistance program. There's people that have reached out for lots of different reasons, as Annie just indicated, as well as just their services that they provide to us, which is helpful to our employees.
Excellent. Thank you, Mitch. Is there a motion to waive the bid requirement and authorize entering into the EAP program with ESI?
Yeah,
So
I'll make the motion and just reaffirm what Mitch explained, that this is a $2,239 annual expense. That's what we're talking about.
Right, that could change each year based on number of full-time employees.
Fair enough.
So, you know,
Slightly.
right now it's 102 that we've estimated for this coming year. We do a census with EAP every year with our full-time employees, but you know, it's not gonna vary too much based on number of full-time employees.
Okay, so anyway, with that explanation, I'll make the motion to approve it.
Thank you.
Second,
Second,
any further comments or questions? Let me try your minds, Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you very much, Mitch and Annie. And
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I'm going to sign off, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Okay.
having me here this morning. Stay safe and well. Bye-bye now.
you too. Okay, item 9, Guilford Human Rights Commission. And we have Joe Keogh here to talk a little bit about consider and take possible action on the Guilford Human Rights Commission's proposal to offer free library summer sessions. Joe, good morning, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. The proposal is, as Matt just said, pertaining to a program that was entitled the Guilford Free Library Summer Sessions. This was a curriculum that was put together by 2 Guilford residents several years ago, Eliza Summerlin and Kay Elizabeth Myers. It was done to fulfill a master's in library science for both of them. So I've just, in the proposal that you're looking at, I've highlighted some of the sections that they put together. Some of the material has become a little bit outdated. For example, in discussing the use of Native Americans as mascots, one of the subjects in the original curriculum was to look at the Guilford High School mascot, which of course is no longer the Indians. So there's some updating that needs to be done. The commission also has some concerns around trying to run this program during the summer months in a shore town. I'm not sure that that's entirely realistic. And certainly if we wanted this to be an in-person adult ed event, that would not be possible this summer, or I would hesitate to schedule it for this summer. So we are looking for the go-ahead to reach out to Witness to History, Slavery in Guilford, which was formerly Witness Stones, and to connect with the library to develop this curriculum further and to present it as an offering for adult education in Guilford, possibly this fall, maybe next spring, sort of, depending on how quickly we can pull things together and what the situation with COVID looks like.
Good. Thank you, Joe. And thank you for your continued work with the commission in coming up with some innovative programs. You were here just a month ago with several other initiatives. So thank you very much. I personally feel this is a worthwhile endeavor, something that expands upon the great work that was already started by Dennis Cullivan and his team and with the Witness Stones project. So I fully support this. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
No, I support too. Are we gonna do a motion on it, or what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Basically, the way we set up the charge for the Human Rights Commission is that they come back through the first selectman and board of selectmen on initiatives like this. So I would appreciate a motion to approve. Moving forward. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Joe, thank you very much for your work and your time this morning.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, yeah.
Item 10, Erin, we're here to discuss and take possible action to release the lien for property located at 101 Great Harbor Road. Erin, your floor is yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Erin Mannix, the zoning enforcement officer. Just to recap you, this is a release of a judgment lien. In 2010, my predecessor was involved with the enforcement of zoning violations for renovations and additions to a non-conforming seasonal cottage in a coastal zone. Portions of that included construction of non-permitted structure. That structure has been removed. However, there was a period of time between an enforcement order and the actual removal of the structure in which Reggie Reed did issue daily citations, which are allowed through the ordinance. And so while the structure was removed, the citations were never paid. With the assistance of our land use attorney, Chuck Andres, a judgment lien was placed on the property in June of 2011 for the amount of $10,958. That had rested quietly for a decade, and the property owner is in the process of selling his home now. And lo and behold, reached out to me asking to release the judgment lien. That being said, he has paid the $10,958 fine that he had. As a result, I did work with Peter and Chuck Andres to draft a release of that judgment lien so that you could approve that as it was issued, not by the Planning and Zoning Commission, but by the town itself. So that falls under your authority to release the lien. If you have questions regarding the series of events, please let me know.
What about the $8,000 of cost?
Yeah, or
you mean of filing the lien?
Well, I mean, the judgment lien says 10,950 and, oh, is it $8?
$8.
Yeah, it was the $8 filing fee, I believe, and that was paid.
Well, kind of along those lines, 10 years later, how about any kind of interest and penalties? Isn't that customary? I don't know if that's a question for Erin or not. I apologize, but I mean, it seems to me here's somebody who's broken some rules and cost the town a lot of administrative time and effort. I'm surprised there's no interest or anything like that on it.
Lou, excuse me, Peter, maybe you could speak to that. I don't believe we have the authority to charge any interest. I think the point of the judgment lien was that eventually the property owner would have to pay those daily citations for the time that he was in violation.
Yeah,
beyond that, I'm not sure we can.
Yeah, these are daily assessments, as you said, that are strictly allowed. And I think and especially I'll say this, once we've cited them a final number and they've paid it, and I understand the check's already been received.
Yes, it has been deposited.
We're really not in a position now to pursue interest in any event.
You're saying we're not legally allowed to?
Well, you know, that's, I don't know, honestly. Judgments, they're, general judgments, I think you can. Lou, maybe you refresh my recollection on that. I think you can on judgments, but I don't know if this lines up with a typical, court judgment.
It's certainly not money that was previously due. This is assessed by the town. So it's not as if this person owed us the money and we got it and went out and got it. This would have, I hate to keep kicking this around, but the post judgment interest, if any, would have had to be calculated by Chuck or whoever, placed this thing and sort of ultimately recommended us.
And also, once the judgment is made, does that mean we no longer have the ability to assess the daily fine? I mean, for 10 years, they haven't done what they were supposed to.
Well,
No,
it sounded like they did remove the
yeah.
structure.
That's correct. So
Yeah.
for the duration of time when that structure existed on the property,
That's the
up until the date it was removed, that's when it was, so it was a fine set of dates that the citations were issued for.
Yeah, I think we're wasting even more administrative time at this point. It's the way it is. I agree with Susan, but it's not going to be it's like, cost benefit analysis of pursuing this.
Well, I'll say this, let me, I think we've already cited that number to them and they've paid it. But I actually will reach out to Chuck just to see what he thinks about that. I assume the final numbers was calculated in-house and approved by Chuck. So I don't really have a concern on that front, frankly.
Peter, Lou, would the lien have had to indicate that interest would accrue when it was filed in order for us to collect that?
Well, I think it depends on what the statute says. And the difference in my mind I keep coming to is the fact that this is not money that was owed to us by this person as if, they withheld money from us. We were imposing this fine on them over time, and it may just be in a different category since it is a fine as opposed to an attempt to recover money that they otherwise owed. So picture a tax lien, is in a different category. That's money they were supposed to have paid, and we should have had the benefit of it 8 years ago when we didn't, then we can accrue interest. I'm not positive. I gotta, somebody's gotta go back and dig through that statute, but since this is sort of an affirmative lien for a fine, I guess a better way of putting it, it may fall into a different category.
Right.
So
Again, I always try to play jailhouse lawyer, right? I'm looking at the lien itself. The judgment lien, which is issued by the Superior Court, specifically says the amount of the lien. And so I would have presumed that if interest were to be able to be collected, the lien would have indicated same, correct?
I guess that's the point I'm sort of getting at too, a little more circuitously. So helpful to have the exact thing there.
Right. And so there were notices of assessment that were filed prior to the actual judgment lien. And those were filed by the hearing officer at the time when the citations were issued. So essentially it was a total of 73 days of fines of $150 per day. That set those total amounts.
All right. And the point that I'm trying to make, which I'm not quite willing to drop, is that, I'm not a lawyer, but in the business world, I have experience with all sorts of liens and fines and penalties, and interest does accrue. So I don't know if it's worthwhile finding out for the future if other situations.
I agree.
The real estate market being the way it is, people are paying things off in order to sell properties, and it's probably worth finding out.
Right. I agree. So we'll have.
We could follow up with Chuck as well.
Okay, thank you.
That's why, I think I need to loop Chuck in on this. I really just, I'll call him.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Well, do we need the answer to this question first? I know this is time sensitive here.
No, I don't think we need. an answer.
Look, I think we've quoted the fellow a number. I think he's already had the closing.
Okay.
And they've paid it, so.
Okay.
All right, so is there a
in that case,
motion to
I'm gonna
release the lien?
move to approve
So moved.
filing
So
of the-
moved. So moved.
And a second. Lou, you'll be the second on this one.
Okay.
Any further discussion, comments? Let me try your minds, Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haberda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 10, discuss and take possible
you.
action. Excuse me, item 11, discuss, thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Item 11, discuss and take possible action on purchase of 1.6 acre parcel at 50 driveway located on Assessor's Map 34, Lot 17-1. Send to the Planning and Zoning Commission for mandatory referral under Connecticut General Statutes 820-24 and set a town meeting date for May 17th, 2021 via Zoom at 8:15. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Gary's here from Land Acquisition, as well as Kevin McGee from our environmental planner side. It's been some time since we talked about this. However, we've gone through a series of environmental analyses, and Kevin, which impacted the closing of this particular property. As you may recall, we had settled on a purchase price of $425,000 for this property. But we had some contingencies, some offsets to accommodate our exploration of potential hazardous materials on the property. And we have successfully concluded those exercises. Kevin and Gary, you want to take it from here?
Sure. We have accumulated, as you said, the agreed upon price was $425,000, which was a right.
Gary, we lost you.
Gary, we lost your audio.
There you go.
There you go.
Let me turn it up. Maybe the problem is I didn't turn it up enough. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is, and I'm going back through some of the documents. This has been going on for a couple of years. And I would also add that in my role of chair of the facilities task force, this came into play as a serious consideration. But the town received an appraisal of $405,000. The seller had an unofficial, but a number of $500,000 from their real estate advisor, and we settled on $425,000 with an agreement that the seller would reimburse the town up to $75,000 in environmental expenses, which we incurred. We have incurred to date $46,231 in environmental costs for research, for environmental counsel. Kevin, you'll notice there's a $2,100 difference because Matt and I had talked and we agreed that our counsel should not be part of that number. We'll pay that on our own, but the rest of it was clearly the environmental counsel's and environmental process. We have received an opinion from environmental counsel that this is not an establishment, not subject to the Transfer Act, which is one of our serious concerns, and that the property does not have a serious environmental concern that would impact either our use or potential future uses. Therefore, the net at closing would come down to approximately $379,000 as we have paid all the environmental costs today. Matt, I don't know if you want me to, in this forum, to review the information that we reviewed. It was almost a year and a half ago about the reasons for doing this, or hold that off until the town meeting. But shared with all the selectmen was a 18-point memo on why this made sense for the town to do it. your,
Gary, I think a brief overview of the findings.
all
I
right,
think we were largely concerned with Transfer Act requirements. And also just the general condition, obviously the general condition of the property. So you want to just talk briefly about how those concerns have been satisfied?
they have, and as I said, the environmental concerns have been, particularly with the absence of a Transfer Act concern, have been satisfied. The groundwater issues could be a problem, but we have town water there. So it is less so, and there's nothing that cannot be, there's no use that we would put it to that is impacted by the environmental conditions, which are, quite honestly, we were concerned about it because it was a quasi-industrial site and the work that took place there, and it turns out to be very, very little environmental damage. Maybe a tiny amount goes back to a prior owner, which was the Knowles Lombard Energy Company. So we were satisfied that this was satisfactory. If you want to just quick go through the points, the ownership of this provides, for those that aren't familiar with it, and I know everybody on this Board of Selectmen is, this is directly across from Park and Rec facilities and Public Works facilities, and it provides needed on-site parking, indoor storage, Park and Rec facilities, which may eliminate the cost of the trailer because it has bathrooms, showers, office, rest area. It's a central location for the facilities group, which will free up the town hall barn for other uses, possibly disposal, a possible site for the truck wash, heated work setup for town maintenance staff, material storage, which could combine both facilities, natural resources, public works, options for parking, staff saving time because it consolidates space, consolidates storage, and all are a very positive intermediate term benefit to the town. Longer term, if the Park and Rec and Public Works facility is moved out of this site, which is in a floodplain, this would consolidate the site, control the entire amount by the town, and allow for sale to a developer for a more appropriate use of the site. So I can go on, but that's the thumbnail.
Kevin, anything from your perspective?
Yeah, just kind of summarize what Gary did there a little bit. We had phase 1 and phase 2 reports, and plus additional groundwater sampling and soil sampling conducted as part of environmental studies on the property. The environmental studies came back, as Gary indicated, the current use of the property as the trolley repair type facility. They've determined really there's no environmental contamination or anything that was caused by that previous business on the property there. The contamination that was found during the studies was related, one, to the fill material placed on the property to develop it years ago with asphalt and other type asphalt and coal tar mixed together, and they believe that was the cause of some of the contamination that we found on the property. And also some of the volatile organics which were found on the property, they believe may be connected to the former landfill, which predated the existing use of the property there. But as Gary indicated, none of them requires any immediate remediation in accordance to the current regulations.
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone have any questions or comments? No? All right, we have a motion. I think we have a motion on the floor already, right?
Yes.
Good. Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner. You're on mute, Sue.
Sorry, are we making a motion to do what? To send it to town meeting or to recommend?
Send it to town meeting, contingent upon approval of P and Z on the mandatory referral.
Okay, aye.
Thank you. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Thank you very much, Gary and Kevin. Item 12, appointments and resignations. Act on a recommendation to appoint Herb Schloss to the Safe Streets Mobility Task Force. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. 12.2, act on a resignation received from Jack Evans from the Human Rights Commission and the Land Acquisition Commission. I'll make that motion with appreciation and regret. Is there a second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 13, request for use of town property. 13.1, Park and Recreation and Youth and Family Services to use the green June 12th, 2021 for a wellness event. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. 13.2, act on a request from the police department to use the green and to place a sign on the green advertising its National Night Out taking place July 27th with a rain date of July 28th. Sign placement 7/13 to 7/28. And also to take action on noise control ordinance variance application for the same event. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
And Sue, thank you for the second. Any comments or questions?
I'm just
Let me
going to
try
point
your
out
minds,
this is being sponsored by the Guilford Police Department and they've done similar things in the past. It's community outreach and it's another example of the great work they do down there.
I agree, Lou. This is a third year I think they've held this. The first year was a resounding success. Last year, a little bit less successful. People were wearing masks and when they did it. So, but hopefully this year, this one may not need masks, right? Anyway, let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. Motion carries. 13.3, act on a request from the Guilford Rotary Club to place a sign on the green advertising its Lobster Fest to Go event taking place June 26, 2021. Lou, I assume you're making
I've
this?
been waiting for this one. I'd like to make the motion.
I'll second
Yes,
it.
there's, and second, any comments or questions? Lou, it's obviously good to see that you're going to be able to hold the event. Unfortunately, not
Yeah.
in person.
If I could just spend a minute and then to sort of
Yes.
remind folks that it's a virtual event essentially this year. I mean, I know things are sort of, we're in that weird transition where things are opening up, not opening up, but this is a pretty big crowd and preparations would have been complicated. So it's basically a drive-through. You can order a steak or a lobster online or from a Rotary member and drive through to pick it up at the fairground on, I think it's the, I should know that date.
I think it's the
June
26th.
26th, June 26th. So, so there you go. So it's wonderful. So thanks for the support there. And I do like to give them the chance to put the sign up.
Excellent. Great. Any other discussion or comments?
Can't wait.
Let me try your minds. Selectman Federici,
Aye.
Selectman Haverda,
Aye.
Selectwoman Renner,
Aye.
Selectwoman Ruoff,
Aye.
Selectman Hoy is also an aye. That motion carries. Item 14, committee reports. Anything? No updates, Lou or Sandy on the housing?
Just those upcoming hearings in June, but I'll remind everybody next meeting on the 17th.
Thank you. All right, correspondence. Anybody have anything under correspondence?
No.
No. Old business. Just a reminder, I think we agreed to try to make a decision at our next meeting relative to when we're going to go back to in-person or in-person/hybrid meetings. So one of the things that I'm going to forward along to you all is a proposal to outfit one of the large rooms. I can never remember which room it is. I only met in it for 26 years as a member of the Board of Finance, but outfit that with video equipment that will enable meetings to be conducted there and provided via Zoom and or live streamed through to YouTube or even to GCTV's facility. So I will be forwarding along a proposal for that because I think that's going to be, it's probably going to be expected that hybrid meetings will be the methodology going forward. So we already can conduct a hybrid meeting from the Selectmen's conference room, but Board of Finance, I think Planning and Zoning and Park and Rec all have meetings televised, traditionally have their meetings televised, and they use that meeting room. So that may become more of a go-to meeting for meetings. We have solicited an additional proposal from HB Communications to outfit the large room in the community center where we typically hold public hearings and the larger budget meetings. So, our assumption is, by that time, budget time next year, we'll probably be back in person in those rooms. And if there are any other town meetings over the course of between now and then, that room might benefit from being equipped as well. So, but I will forward along to you the proposal we have in hand. And then once we get the second one for the large room, I will forward that along as well.
Okay.
Thanks,
You
man.
got it.
Great, sounds good.
Anybody else with old business?
Nope.
How about new business? Anything under new business? No. With that, I'll open it up for public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, thank you all for your attention this morning. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second? That's a non-debatable motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a great day, everyone.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.